Well, the fight over the provincial legislation that capped public sector wages is heading to Ontario's Court of Appeal. A Superior Court justice ruled last November the law was unconstitutional, but the Ford government is appealing that decision. The province argues the law does not interfere with collective rights to fair bargaining and that Ontario was in financial crisis at the time the bill was put in place. Public sector unions gathered outside Osgoode Hall ahead of the appeal this morning. CP24's Steve Ryan joins us live outside the hall with more. Steve?
Yeah, Phil, good afternoon. I am with Fred Hahn, who is the CUPE leader for the province of Ontario. Fred, thanks for your time. And are you surprised that we're at this point here today out front of the appeal court?
Well, I'm not surprised. I'm deeply disappointed. This is a waste of workers' time. It's a waste of public money. The court decision that was rendered in November was thorough, it was thoughtful, it was detailed, and it found quite clearly that Bill 124 violated the Charter of Rights and Freedoms. It declared it null and void. It is ridiculous that we are here at an appeal hearing today.
Now, many of the union leaders that we heard from earlier on, they spoke about the majority of the members affected being women and in marginalized communities. What's your comments on that?
Well, when people hear the term systemic racism, they often wonder what it means. This is what systemic racism looks like. It's what systemic gender discrimination looks like. It's when government uses the massive power of legislation to negatively impact and target a particular group. And when we're talking about public sector workers, we are talking about 75% of them are women. A vast majority of them are racialized, Indigenous, Black folks who do incredibly important jobs and whose wages have been held back unfairly, whose constitutional rights have been violated. It's important to know that, this is, alongside it being economically unviable, alongside it being a violation of the Constitution, this is absolutely what discrimination, racism, and sexism look like in law.
Now, what about those that say times are tough for everybody and everybody would like more than a 1% raise? What's your comments on that?
Times are tough for everybody, and it's why many private sector workers have been able to bargain contracts. Many of the male-dominated jobs in the trades and constructions have been able to bargain contracts that help them keep pace with inflation. It's why we and so many people argued that the minimum wage should actually be, indexed against inflation. It shouldn't be a ploy of politicians. It should be, there to help the very lowest paid workers rise and keep pace with inflation. But when it comes to public sector workers who are in our hospitals, in our long-term care facilities, in our childcare centers, in developmental services, at our universities, in our school boards, those workers have been held back unfairly. And it's not only wrong for them, wrong for our local economies. Every dollar taken out of their pockets is a dollar taken out of local communities because they couldn't spend it at the local grocery store or gas station.
I appreciate your time. Thank you. It's Fred Hahn. He's president of the Ontario CUPE. I'll send it back to the desk.